Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmaya Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Yata Sarvani Bhutani Pratibhanti Stitani Cha Yatraivo Bhashamam Yanti Tasmai Satyatmane Namaha. So where are we in our text?
We're in chapter 21, number 1314, on page 215.
Let's start.
Please.
Section 2. Kalpan Teshu Sthitihi. Continuance through the ends of world cycles.
So we're talking about this crow, Pushunda, whose mother was a Hansa, a celestial swan, whose father was a Kaka, crow. And they did the mufti pufti, and there were 21 Mahakaka crows. So now he's going to finish with the story. What happened to the other 20, and why does he keep hanging around? Going on.
Matribhi sahamsibhi brahmi bhagavati tatah chiram aradhitasmabhi prasada parayatatah tathai vanu grihitasmo yatha mukta vayam sthitah. Therefore, thereafter, along with our mother swans, the goddess Brahmi, wife of Brahma, was worshipped by us for a long time. Then we were blessed by her, intent on favoring us in such manner that we remain liberated.
So again, these are literary devices, the celestial swans and these their children worship. I did not even realize that Brahma had a consort, Brahmi. I don't normally see the two of them together, but she was worshipped and they are liberated. So let's see what happens.
I thought it was Saraswati, but
I have no idea.
Sankriptam anasa shanta tvekante dhyana sansthitau tisthama iti nishchitya pitu paschai vayam gatah. We shall remain tranquil and with satisfied minds in solitude in the state of meditation. Thus, having resolved, we went near our father.
So they are peaceful dudes, which is very interesting. I don't know about you folks, but at this time of year, right around sunset, I get to hear the choir of crows. Does it happen down near where you live?
Not crows, but some other birds.
What about you?
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
they just make a racket.
Yeah.
So I think there's some humor here in that the crows are normally pretty raucous birds. Going on.
तेनायं सर्वबाधानाम् अगम्य कल्पपादपः कथितं स्थानमस्काकं तिष्ठामोऽत्र गजद्वराः अद्य मे सफलं पुण्यं भगवदा गमनेन हि. This kalpa tree, inaccessible to all disturbances or perils, was indicated by him as our place, and we remain here free from fever or anxiety. Today, the merit of my good deeds has borne fruit indeed by the arrival of your honor.
So they hang out on this kalpa tree, and it is impervious to the vicissitudes of the world. Now, what is the teaching? Do you and I need to go roaming through the Himalayas to find this kalpa tree? I tell you, you're already sitting in the kalpa tree. It's your own real nature. So for the woman or the man of wisdom, who's renounced attachment to the vicissitudes of the world, who's no longer identified with the equipment, if that be their true state, not just a wish or an intellectual understanding, then the vicissitudes of the world don't afflict us. Doesn't mean we're unconscious of them. Of course, we see them. Do we have compassion for the suffering of others? Of course we do. Probably even more than the ordinary person. Or if somebody attacks us, is angry at us, do we get defensive? Or can we sit on our internal kalpa tree and not be touched by all that anger or upset that goes on around us? Any thoughts on this? Now, I don't do this. Swamiji would. If he saw we had an attachment, he'd poke deliberately. I think life itself does a pretty good job of it. I don't really need to. And, I'm not that smart. But frequently, just spontaneously, I may say or do something that upsets another person, even a student. There should be no talk of liberation if that's what's going on. There's one of the stories about Ashtavakra comes to the court of King Janaka, and there's a whole bunch of Brahmins, and they're arguing back and forth. And they attack this one ascetic, this woman with matted hair. And her response is just silence. Silence. No need to defend. All right, going on.
इत्युक्त्वो परते तस्मिन् इदं रामाः मुक्तवान् भ्रातरस्ते विहङ्गेश तादृक्सत्त्वा महाधेयः इह कस्मात् न दृश्यन्ते त्वमेवैको हि दृश्यसे. Rama, having thus spoken, when he stopped, I told him this: Lord of birds, for what reason your brothers of such nature and noble-minded are not seen here, but you alone are seen?
So if all this happened and all 21 of you were hanging out on the Kalpa Vriksha, the Kalpa tree, why are they not here? Why are you the only one here? Let's see what happened. Going on.
Kushundavacha tishtatam iha na kalo mahan atigato mune yuganam pankataya shina kalpanam cha mahamate. Kushunda said, Noble-minded sage, to us remaining here, a very long time has passed away. Series of yugas and of kalpas have worn away. There's a note which says, according to Puranic mythology, the universe is dissolved at the very end of every kalpa, which is equal to a day of Brahma, the creator, is equal to 1,000 yugas, being a period of 4,320 million years of mortals.
So again, the Abrahamic religions see time as linear. The Asian religions tend to see time as circular. So the point that he's getting at is not only does history tend to repeat itself in the recorded history of people, but even the whole Big Bang and expansion of the universe, it goes into Big Crunch or something, and then another one happens over and over and over again. No beginning, no end. We can say that there is a beginning. I was born in 1948, but it's not the beginning. We can say the universe, the scientists say the Big Bang happened, what is it, 14.8 billion years ago? That was not the beginning, it was a beginning. But the idea is time is circular. So what happens is these other 20 of his siblings, they just go get liberated. With Bushunda, he goes into a subtle state. And then when creation comes back, he's got to wait till the earth cools and all that sort of stuff. And he comes back and parks himself on the Kalpa Vriksha again. Going on.
एतावता च कालेन सर्व एव ममानुजाः तनु तृणम इव त्यक्त्वा शिवे परिणतापदे. During so much time, all my brothers, having given up their bodies like straw, came to an end in the auspicious abode of the Supreme Spirit.
Yes. So the body falls away because they were liberated. They have no cause for rebirth, so they don't come back. And this again is largely a literary device. The idea here is don't worry about what's going on right now. Supposedly we are in Kali Yuga, which is the time when ignorance is at its strongest. People are most deluded. Of course, there's a great impetus for moksha in the Kali Yuga. But people tend to repeat circumstances. When I was younger and I was dating, I used to jokingly say, I've been married 10 years, same relationship, only the names and faces change. It keeps repeating. Anybody have a upset or argument with a spouse or a significant other this week? Tell me it's the first time.
Absolutely first time ever. I'm kidding.
I mean, it's so repetitive.
It's always the same. We do.
Yeah.
In a way, it's the same argument, really. One
Yeah.
of us is right, the other one's wrong, and we've got to convince the other one that they're the one who's wrong.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. So one can look at it cosmologically. Is this true or not true? I do not know. These are way above my pay grade. What I do know is patterns tend to repeat themselves in our lives. Some of them you can change, some of them not so much. We can only accept. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Dirghayusho mahantopi santopi balinopi cha sarva eva nigiryante kalena kalitan mana. Even when they are long-lived, great, virtuous, and strong, all without exception are swallowed by time whose nature cannot be reckoned.
Yes. So, one of the illusions of ego is that things are going to stay the same, especially if I put in a lot of effort. But nothing stays permanently. And even if you go through all the stuff to maximize a long life, if you die at 77, 87, 97, 107, in the great scheme of things, it's just a blink of an eye. It's so short. And I love to tell about the conversation with this one student I had for a short time who was a hatha yogi. And he read some book about the great sages in the Himalayas who lived to be 400. Oh, I want that. I want to live to be 400. You know me. Oh, what happens at year 401? You're dead. You're just as dead as the person who dies at 71, 81, or 91, or 101. And it's not just about the body. It's everything is impermanent. It's always changing. A foolish person resists the inevitability of life. The intelligent person accepts the permanency of impermanence. How about that one? Life isn't problematic. It's our unrealistic expectations of it that become problematic. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
इत्युक्तेन मया पृष्टो भुषुण्डो वायसाधिपः कल्पान्तेषु महाबुद्धे वहत्सुत्पातवायुषु प्रतपत्स्वी वन्दुभार्केषु कथं तिष्ठसि विज्वरः. By me, who was told thus, Bhushunda, the king of crows, was asked, Noble-minded one, how do you remain free from fever or anxiety at the close of the worldly cycles, when violent winds blow and the moon, the constellations, and the sun are burning?
So you and I get upset by reading the headline. You or I get upset because housing prices are going down. You or I get upset because, oh, the stock market's going to go down. What if the whole world falls in? Now, this is literary stuff about, the end of the universe. But think about what's really happened. So in the century around 1300, I think at least a quarter of the population of Europe died from the plague. Might even be more than that. Might be 3/4. It was huge. Many people think the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Emperor Justinian, around the year 500, had made it all the way to Ravenna from Constantinople to reconquer the West. And guess what stopped him in his tracks? Plague. So these things happen. Massive, massive population losses, climactic changes, whether they're caused by carbon emissions or other things. The earth is, there for several million years, it was snowball earth. The whole earth was frozen over completely. And people, burning fossil fuel caused that. All sorts of things happen. How can you and I maintain equanimity when the environment is going through huge cataclysmic changes? War, famine, disease, natural disasters. What do we do? Let's see what Bhushunda did.
Bhushunda Uvacha Yada shamyati kalpante vyavaharo jagatgatah akasha eva tishtami vigata khila kalpanah. Bhushunda said, when the affair of the world ceases at the end of the world cycle, I just remain in space devoid of all imagination.
Yes. So let go of my concern for the world. Remain as the space of pure consciousness. Let the tempest pass. You are safe always. Be at peace. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Pratapanti yadaditya vyomanganata vyomanga gatohyaham varunim dharanam badva tadatishthami dhiradihi. When the sun burns, then I remain with composed mind, situated in an area of the sky or space, and having performed the concentration of the mind relating to the ocean or the waters.
So here again, through poetry, through language, we have an example. It's actually a new technical term that I got from Somya. Pratipaksha bhava. Pratipaksha means opposite, the attitude of the opposite. So at the earliest level of practice, it means when we have habituated flows of negative thinking, we practice the opposite idea. If left to my own devices, my mind goes, the world's gloom and doom, everybody hates me, I'm never going to be loved, I'm always going to have to struggle. No, I live and move and have my being in thee, O God. The universe conspires for my well-being if I let it. Divine wisdom guides me. I don't need to struggle. Opposite idea. Then, if you wish to take on a wonderful practice of this, I'm very fond of the Tibetan Buddhist practice of Tonglen. I've shared this with many of you before. So one of my slogans for myself, which I'm more than happy to share with you, the awareness of suffering is an invitation to prayer. Wringing my hands and worrying, or going to the local coffee house and complaining is not helpful. Well, Jim, I just need to vent. Well, then you become, frankly, part of the problem. So in Tonglen, when you're aware of suffering in the world, don't resist, don't fight, don't surround yourself with white light to block it all off. No, lean into it, breathe it in. And then opposite idea. So I was listening to this fellow today talk about there's a particular politician and he has a hard time not wishing that he's dead. And it really struggles with him. He can't pray for him. Oh, I can pray for politicians. I do. I breathe in their fear, and I breathe out peace and wisdom. Become part of the solution, not part of the problem. So this practice of the opposite idea, pratipaksha bhavana. Is this a expression you're familiar with at all?
I haven't heard of that one. No.
It's wonderful. I mean, the idea, the principle I've been aware of, but Somya just taught it me that's actually a practice in the Raja Yoga tradition. And this is what Bhushunda is practicing. You know, when the sun gets too hot, now I'm going to be with coolness. Resist not evil, the Master Jesus said. Make peace with your enemy. Forgive. How many times should I forgive my enemy? The Hebrew scripture says 7 times. What did Jesus say? 7 times 70. A lot. Breathe in the upset. Breathe out goodwill, charity, peace. The yogi intends the well-being of the world and all those sons of bitches that upset us. Any thoughts on this?
You know, Lloyd is a Mason and he had to read part of a Masonic thing, and it was about charity and saying you can have all the power in the world, but if you have not charity, yours nothing.
A sounding gong, yes. Yes, it's the great teaching on love. And the word charity comes from the Latin caritas, which is a translation of the Greek agape.
Oh, yes.
Which is love which seeks nothing in return. Doesn't have the common connotation of just giving, money to the poor. It's genuinely seeking the well-being of the other. There's a poem by Thomas Aquinas, Ubi caritas est vera et vera Deus ibies. Wherever caritas, love, is frequently translated. In truth, there God is. Beautiful little poem. It's set frequently to music. That's how come I remember it. Excellent. So this whole idea, and this is the deepest meaning of tapas. Tapas is usually translated as austerity. It doesn't mean sleeping on a bed of nails. It doesn't mean just staying up all night on Shivaratri. It doesn't mean just fasting all during daylight hours for Ramadan. I'm not saying these are not good practices, but the most effective tapas, 2 paths approach a person, as Kathopanishad says. Prayas and Shreyas. Preyas, the delectable. Shreyas, the good. The intelligent person chooses the good. This is what Swamiji called the art of man-making, where we build character is what it is. Now, if you can't remember any of it, you know how Indians love lists. So at the beginning of the Raja, the 8 limbs of yoga in the Raja Yoga tradition, we have the yamas and the niyamas. What's the first one? Whenever there's a list, usually the first one's the most important. Anybody remember what it is?
Ahimsa.
Yes, ahimsa, non-violence, non-harming. And it has to go both ways. Not only don't harm other people, don't harm yourself. Can't remember anything else about the moral precepts of yoga. Don't be a jerk. So anyway, so here we have Bhushunda in the language of poetry and metaphor talking about Pratipaksha Bhava. Going on.
Yada Chakalita Dindra Vanti Pralayavayavaha Parvatim Dharanam Badva Khetishtamya Chalam Tada. When the winds of universal destruction blow, shattering to pieces the best of mountains, then I remain immovable in space, having assumed the holding concentration relating to mountains.
Yes. Again, opposite idea. Opposite idea. Going on.
Jagat Galitame Vardi Yatye Karnavatam Yada Vayavim Dharanam Badva Samplave Chaladhitada. When Meru and the other mountains vanished from the world, are reduced to the state of universal deluge, then, performing the concentration of the mind relating to air, I float about with a steady intellect.
Again, this Pratipaksha Bhavana. The opposite idea. Other little things that have been helpful for me. Someone's got an upset, someone's got a problem, and they tell me about it. That's the awareness of suffering. Right where the trouble seems to be, there God is. God doesn't have any problems. There's no infection in perfection. Bring my mind back to the truth. Satchidananda Rupa. My nature is pure existence, consciousness, and bliss absolute. Oh, by the way, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. This is verily Brahman. It's the truth about what's really here that appears as the world. Why does it look so screwed up? Sankalpena. It's imagination. Change what you are imagining. Understand what's really here is God and God's divine forms. Watch your world change. Going on.
Brahmanda Paramasadhya Tatvante Vimale Pade Sushupta Avasthaya Tavat Tishthamya Chalarupaya. Having reached the furthest limit of the universe, I remain indeed in the pure or stainless abode, which is the limit of reality or the ultimate reality in the state of profound repose, immovable in nature.
So what's the best of all sankalpas? That which comes from my direct experience. That the self in me is Brahman. That this world is nothing but Brahman. Simple, but absolutely transformative. Why do I think it's so screwed up? Listen carefully. Habit. What about my terrible childhood? All it has done is create habits of thinking. Anybody here broken a habit, say smoking, drinking,
nail biting.
or sugar, gluten, and dairy?
Yes.
What happens in the beginning? Mind resists,
Yes. It's
but it
hard.
can be done.
Yes, it can.
We can change habit. That's the essence of tapas. Oh, Jim, it's just my nature. I'm a cynical person. No, your nature is God. Your cynicism is a habit. I won't believe that about you. You are an avatar. That's what I see. A divine incarnation of God. But so is everybody else. All right, going on.
Section 3. Vichitranubhavaha. Wonderful or varied experience. Yavat puna kamalaja srishtikarmani tishtati yavat pravishya brahmandam tishtami vihagalaye. When the lotus born or Brahma, the creator god, again occupies himself with the work of creation, then entering into the universe, I remain on the abode of birds or on the tree.
So when Brahmaji creates the world again from that sky of consciousness, Bushunda as an individuated reflection of consciousness, a bird jiva goes, oh, there's the kulpa tree, parks himself there again. So what does it mean for you and me? As circumstances change, new relationships, new homes, new jobs, change in politics, a change in climate. As long as we're still seeing this shadow-like body, then we enter into the new environment. Let's see what happens here. All this is metaphor. This story of Bushund, it's about you and me. Going on.
मत्सङ्कल्पवशेनैव कल्पे कल्पे पुनः पुनः अस्मिन्नेव गिरे शृङ्गे तरु इत्यं भवत्ययम्. Just through the force of my will, in every world cycle again and again, this tree comes into being like this on top of this very mountain.
So God doesn't create the world that I experience at us and to us, but as us and through us. So it's by my own individual sankalpas, my proclivities, my swadharma, my prakriti, that my life appears. In Gita, Krishna says, every being is impelled into action helplessly by the force of prakriti, by the force of nature. The word prakriti has the same two meanings as the word nature in English. So I can say, oh, Jim told another really dumb joke. Well, that's his nature. Or, oh, I went up to Muir Woods this weekend and I walked through the redwoods. I just love to be in nature. It's two meanings. Prakriti has both the same. So we are impelled into action by our nature and by nature, meaning it's really God who's doing it. But it comes about by my individual intentions, choices, actions. So this is what is meant when Bushunda says, by the force of my will. Doesn't mean he's going, Kalpavicha. I mean, what do you and I do? So, worldly example. So, Wendy, when Rivoli closed,
Mhm.
what are you doing now as a job?
I cook for some individuals.
Yeah. And did you get a message from the Lord, a little telegram?
No,
And how come you're not, a greeter at Home Depot?
because this just happened to happen.
And you chose to do it. You
Yeah.
followed up on it. It was your intention.
Yeah.
It was what the environment presented.
Mhm.
People asked you to cook for them,
Mhm.
and it's what you chose to do. You could have said no.
Right.
So there's your nature.
Yeah.
And nature
Mhm. Right.
operating. And that's with all of us, not just Wendy. And that's what Bushund is talking about. Any thoughts on this? You're going to do what you're going to do. There's certainly no point in worrying about it. And give up the idea that somehow if I just get the right job or career, then I'll be really happy. Frequently, when I teach chapters 3, 4, and 5 of Gita, that wonderful teaching on karma yoga, people may get the idea, oh, if I just, find out what my swadharma is and really do what I'm meant to do, follow my passion, follow my bliss, then I'll really be happy. It's a job. It is limited. It occurs in time and space. And you will get your allotted dose of successes and failures. If you want to be happy, viveka vairagyacha. Oh, I've got to save the world. Think globally, act locally. I don't want to blow that part of the teaching into an unrealistic proportion. All right, next verse.
Vasishtha uvacha yatha tishtasi pakshindra dharanabhi akhanditah kalpan teshu tatha kasmat nanye tishthanti yoginah. Vasishtha said, best among birds, for what reason other yogins do not remain or exist at the end of the world cycles, as you remain undisturbed or everlasting through your steady contemplation?
Well, there's really good reason. It's bad enough there are what, 8 billion people in the world? They all kept coming back. God, where would we put them all? But let's see what Bushunda answers.
Bushunda vacha Brahman niyatireshahi durladhya parameshwari idrishena maya bhavyam bhavyananyaishcha tadrishaihi. Bushunda said, sage, this indeed is the dispensation of the Supreme Lord, which is difficult to be violated. It is to be so accomplished by me of this kind, and not so accomplished by those of that kind.
So the import of this, am I supposed to be a super guru? Am I supposed to be a powerful healer? I'm sorry you don't get to make that choice. The Lord makes that choice. These things are karmic. Be kind, endeavor to be useful, do service. In Gita, it's in the 2nd chapter, Krishna describes this. When unrighteousness increases, meaning when people's suffering is so intense, there's a groan, cosmic groan. God help us. It may not be articulated that clearly, but we as a society, we as a human race, invoke the God person. It's called the salvific principle. It's the universe's response to our suffering. Wonderful implication about it, about the nature of God's grace. What's the definition of grace? An undeserved gift.
Mm.
An undeserved gift. It's a grace. And isn't it true individually with you and me? When it really hurts bad enough, that I start looking for solutions. I start yearning. I get that divine discontent. Some form of the prayer, God, help me. So it's interesting. We look at our current society with all of its suffering. Now, you or I may not live in this body long enough to see a divine response in any kind of cosmic scale, but we might. You never know. Never know. But it's certainly true for you and me. So, at an earlier chapter in this text, there was it was a Gita. I can't remember whose Gita it was now. Where he goes, pranams to you, pleasure, you have fondled me for lifetimes. It is because of you that I've remained in ignorance. And then it goes, hail, noble suffering. Because of you, my mind turned towards liberation.
It's beautiful.
One of my favorite parts. And the Sanskrit is just succulent, as Deepa would say in that Gita. So Bhushunda keeps coming back. And these things are karmic. So what the Lord's going to do with that particular body, mind, intellect, who knows? Your job is to suit up, salute. Okay, God, reporting for duty. What do you want me to do? And you will be given the tools that you need. Going on.
Vasishtha Vacha Kim Kim Smarasi Kalyana Chitram Asmin Jagat Krame. Vasishtha said, Blessed One, what wonderful things do you remember in this succession of the worlds?
Okay, so let's see what Bhushunda remembers from these not only prior lives, but prior ages. This is kind of funny. Going on.
Bhushunda Vacha Ashaila Vanavrikshaudham Smarami Mam Thara Adaha Janmendu Bhaskaradinam Indropendravyavasthinim Hiranya Kshapaharanam Varahodharanam Kshitehe Sagaranam Samadbhutim Amritartham Cha Manthanam. I remember this earth below, without its multitudes of mountains, forests, and trees, the birth of the moon, the sun, and the like, the arrangement of Indra, the lord of the demigods, and his younger brother, the taking away of the earth, by the demon Hiranyaksha, and the deliverance by Varaha, or the incarnation of God Vishnu as a boar, the generation of oceans and the churning of the ocean for the sake of the nectar of immortality.
So here he is in the language of poetry saying he remembers all the various myths that have happened. So it's interesting, in our various scriptures, we have the Vedas, which are called Shruti, that which is heard, has two meanings. In a pre-literate society, you actually heard the Veda being chanted by a Brahmana or a Pandit, but it also means ultimately it was knowledge that was directly intuitive. But we have itihasa as a whole genre of literature. So what are the itihasa?
Ramayana and Mahabharata
Well, what's the term mean?
means history, right? Historic.
It really happened, yeah. So we remember these great heroes, these great Mahatmas, and what they did. We can say the Hebrew Bible is an itihasa. It's a 1,500-year history of Israel's unfolding understanding of God and journey through history. And one of the things, again, to bring it down practically to you and me, there's a phrase we get in Alcoholics Anonymous. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. So your history, with all of its screw-ups, not only becomes grist for the mill, as Ram Dass says, for your unspiritual unfoldment, but anytime you've been through an issue, you can now hold safe space for someone else to come to you who may have a similar problem. And inside, you can say, oh, I know just how you feel. Let me tell you my story about that. You can tell them their story, but whether you do so or not, your experience becomes a way to be of service to others. So I tend to get students who are rascals, present company included.
Beat.
Who, been outlaws and, radicals and, not conforming to societal, structures and things like that. Have I missed anybody? Guess why? I jokingly tell people, my Ishtatevada is good old Karkati from this text. The fat demoness who used to eat people. I really identify with her. But I'm able to hold safe space. And people feel comfortable telling me anything. And I just laugh at them. Been there. It's fun. So this is also what's implied when Bhushunda talks about all the things that he's seen. And we can hold these things, see them for what they are, but without the sting of shame. Any thoughts on this? So if you've been through something that's been difficult or shameful or incredibly painful, rejoice and be glad, as Jesus said, because this will be useful in your work with other people. All right, next verse.
मुने ते ब्रह्मपुत्रस्य जन्माष्टम इदं किल रेणुका पुत्रतां यात कष्टवारम् imam हरिः. Sage, this indeed is the 8th birth for you, the son of Brahma or the creator god. Hari or god Vishnu has become Parashurama or incarnated as the son of Renuka for the 6th time here.
So he's saying in this particular age, all these characters from the mythology, from the Puranas, it's not the first time they've been around the wheel, it's the 6th time or the 8th time going on.
Rishat Tripuravikshobhan Dvau Daksha Tara Sankshayau Smarami Dwadasham Chedam Amrita Bodhi Manthanam Adhunaikadasham Janma Ramana Namna Hare Bhavet Vasudeva Grihe Chapi Bhavita Janma Shodasham. I remember 30 conflicts of Tripura, the 3 cities of demons burnt by Shiva, the destructive aspect of God, 2 destructions of the religious sacrifices of Daksha, one of the sons of Brahma, the creator god, and a patriarch of mankind according to Puranic mythology, and the 12th churning of the ocean of nectar here. Now, there would be the 11th birth as Rama or God Hari or Vishnu, and also the 16th birth, as Sri Krishna will happen in the house of Vasudeva.
So he's even talking about the future. But what does this mean again for you and me? For us to see the particular patterns of our lives. Not all of them are negative. Some of them may be patterns that from this particular lifetime, some from others. I can remember when I got my job at St. Augustine, my first job as a music director. I was 52. Here in this Catholic church, I wasn't even really Catholic. And I looked around and I said, oh, I've done this for lifetimes. I know how to do this. And I was able to build a fantastic music program, essentially from scratch. Where did those skills come from? Some from this lifetime. I used to sing at Grace Cathedral. I, done a lot of high church, all this kind of stuff. But a lot of it was just very intuitive. And what it implies, I'm sure you will have these experiences where you find yourself having skills, and where did they come from? All right, we need to stop. Are we getting near the end of a section?
Yeah, one more verse.
Okay.
In this section. Bhranti resham jagat rupa na kadachana vidyate tu kadachitta jalabudbudhavat sthita. This delusion in the form of the world does not exist at any time, but it also exists sometime, remaining like a bubble of water.
Yes. So it has no real solid material existence apart from consciousness, yet it seems to appear. But even the entire cosmos is only like a bubble, just for a moment, and it's gone. So is every experience in our lives. But something there is that's changed. Who are you? Remember our definition of reality with a capital R. That which is never subject to negation. What do you know? It's myself. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnataya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.